Hey everybody, welcome to another episode. Hoping to bring you to another part of Paris today. If you can't be here in person, don't adjust your sets here. This is not static fuzz. These are the cherry blossoms of Paris. It's that time of year, early April, and I am going to help you explore the Jardin des Plantes in the 5th arrondissement today. And this is, let me just back up, because this just may be the most spectacular single cherry blossom tree that we have in the city, and it's part of this wonderful public park of the Jardin des Plantes. And I'm going to help you explore it and also understand a bit more of the history. But first, let's just appreciate this visual. My goodness. And then I'll get you a little bit closer to the blossoms as well. This is just absolutely one of my favorite times of year here. And I know many of you share that sentiment. Oh, it's just, I mean, you're gonna hear me do a lot of oohing and ahhing today. That building back there we'll talk about a little bit later. And my goodness, this thing is just monumental. Cherry blossoms always arrive in Paris, depending on the climate each year, the weather and whatnot, late March, early April. Today is April 7th. It's a Good Friday, in fact, today. It's Good Friday and a Good Friday. From the interior, now I'm pre-recording this so we can get a nice crisp resolution on this video. If you're watching this on the premiere or the replay, don't forget to set the video quality to 1080p. And you get the idea, and we're able to walk under this luscious pink canopy. Let's admire it from this side. As usual, I've got a lot to show you today. Ugh. Ok, merci. Vous dites ça combien de fois par jour? Plusieurs fois, j'imagine. Surtout avec les cerisiers.
De 7h jusqu'à 20h.
Ok, excusez-moi. He asked me to not be on the grass, which under the tree I thought it would be okay, but they're pretty strict about it. I asked him how many times a day he says that, and the answer was a lot. From opening time to closing time. Okay, so there is the cherry tree. Now that's not all, because not all cherry blossoms are pink. Because for those of you who don't know this area in springtime, my goodness, check out what we've got across the other side. Look at that. Whew. Look at that luscious cloud of goodness. On our way there, let me give you the perspective here. What a glorious bit of weather we have for this. Absolutely stunning weather for this episode. So the Jardin des Plantes it's a garden that was created almost 4 centuries ago in 1635 by King Louis XIII's royal physicians. And that may sound a little surprising. Physicians, because this was primarily a garden for medicinal plants and herbs, which was a burgeoning science back then in the 17th century. And those doctors and physicians and explorers would bring plants and herbs from all around the world, thousands of plants, and they were systematically tested here in labs for their curative properties and their chemical makeup and whatnot. And today it has several sections, including what we're looking at there, the Natural History Museum. Yeah, a quick little zoom there. And the Natural History Museum is made up of several buildings, which I'll point out to you. And they are all worth a visit, let me tell you. And so this park also has, of course, flower gardens and a zoo, greenhouses, a paleontology gallery, even a quote-unquote labyrinth. So let's enjoy this. Absolutely, look at this with the sunlight glistening through in the clouds. Oh my goodness. It almost perfectly mimics those cumulus clouds. Wow. Are those cumulus? I'm guessing. I mean, who knows clouds these days? Very few people actually know the names of these clouds. I wish I did right now. I'm regretting that, but that's about as cool an image as you could find. Over the years, the Jardin des Plantes attracted many artists and writers and whatnot. A lot of painters, sculptors like Rodin came here to sculpt and study, and Gustave Moreau, the great painter, as well as Delacroix. And in the other direction, we've got endless walkways of flowers. We've got a lot of tulips happening. All the springtime plantings have just recently arrived. And maybe one more look. Perhaps a composition of these two blossom trees, cherry trees. This is just, how could you ever get tired of this view? And it's so fleeting, you know, these blossoms will only last maybe 2 weeks if there's not too much wind. I mean, that is just heaven on earth, people. Oh, I'm so excited to be able to share this with you. It's been a while since I've talked about Paris meditation, but here you go, served up to you on a platter. And like most of these large French parks and gardens, we've got these very large, sprawling boulevards of sorts of gravel. In fact, you know, the first boulevards, now that I think of it, the very first real grand boulevards of Paris, the city itself, looks like this. They were made of gravel originally and lined with trees before they were eventually paved. So I guess people don't realize it, but when you're walking through these parks, you're actually getting a feel of what the original boulevards would have looked like, of course, with the buildings and the shops and the theaters along both sides rather than just nature. So this is where the Natural History Museum is housed, and it's made up of several different buildings specializing in different things. This is an old world carousel, and you know, I don't like to film kids, but we're just gonna give you a quick glance at the animals, look at the giraffes and whatnot. Oh, isn't that absolutely spectacular? And then this is where the building that I want to show you, the Gallery of Paleontology, because the Natural History Museum is made up of that, where it's this beautiful brick building with gardens around. This building was added in the year 1898. What a beautiful year. 1898. And it's not just dinosaur skeletons inside, but it's a couple of large-scale galleries of also more modern mammal anatomy, skeletons, fish, reptiles, on and on. And it's just spectacular. I highly recommend it. Being built in the very late 1800s, it's got that kind of feel to it inside. And in fact, I'll pull up a couple of images that I took during my last visit. I'll pull them up on screen so you get an idea. And it's just the most photogenic place, and it's really transporting. And what a lovely little hidden piece of Paris's museum line. And back here to the architecture. That big blue sky, absolutely beautiful. So the paleontology, I think it's also called a comparative anatomy museum, because you can certainly compare the anatomies of all sorts of creatures, great and small. I'll do a full episode inside here, by the way, because I've been meaning to. I'm waiting, actually holding out for them to receive one of their big highlighted animals, which is their big woolly mammoth skeleton that has been gone for a little while. So when the mammoth reappears, I will take you inside of this lovely paleontology building. And the cherry blossoms we saw at the start are not the only ones. There are a couple here as well, in various stages of bloomage. And it's a partly cloudy day, so hopefully we'll get another few doses of sunlight, but that gives you an idea of that. Onward, let's enjoy some tulips. course, the city gardeners of Paris are experts in their field, is how I would describe them. This is a world that I admit I know nothing about. I'm one of those people who's actually, sadly, very good at killing houseplants. In fact, I hope it's not true what some say, that plants are in fact sentient beings with consciousness, because, oh my God, I'd be such a murderer. I'd feel terrible. Look at these beauties. Oh my goodness. Those are some healthy looking tulips right there. More meditation for you all. If you're watching the premiere of this video, then a reminder that you can help out by clicking the thumbs up button. That helps. Leave a comment, or you can pull up the live chat during the premiere and you can interact with me, because I'm going to be watching this video along with you during the premiere. And of course, the super chat function is available as always, a little $ at the bottom of the live chat. And that is a very easy and quick way to send some support, a donation of sorts to help the channel. You got to scooch, really. If you want the good angles, you got to scooch, don't you? And I've been through this park a little bit in recent months during the winter, and of course it always lies dormant and there's nobody out here. You really feel like this is almost a celebration once the tulips arrive and the cherry blossoms are here, and you can see the park is packed and full of appreciative locals and tourists alike. So there you got your fill of tulips, hopefully, there. And they're on all sides of us. So onward, we got plenty to look at and admire today, so let's keep going. So this building in front of us is part of the Natural History Museum. Technically, it's called the Gallery of Evolution. I'll get you a little bit closer to that so we can admire the architecture. But the Natural History Museum, just in general, was a product of the French Revolution in 1793, right in the heart of the revolution. And you know, of course, during that time, the new government was all too happy to take royal property. And this was, remember, the king's medicinal herb garden originally. It was called the Jardin du Roi, the garden of the king. And so the revolution could have come through and not only confiscated this space, but destroyed all the collections and documents and library materials and whatnot. Thankfully, they did not. There were other powers that be, managers of this garden, that convinced the new revolutionary government to not destroy this space. In fact, they convinced the government to turn it into a natural history museum. So it has been that since 1793. And it brought an educational side to the gardens and became specialized in 3 major facets of nature: the vegetal side, the mineral side, and the animal side. And this building that we're looking at here is certainly the animal side, the Gallery of Evolution. Again, I'll pull up a photo or two of the inside there to give you an idea. Beautiful taxidermied exotic animals. And very, very good for families. If you're coming here with younger kids or even teenagers, anyone with an interest in animals, nature of that sort, then definitely check it out. It's worth it. I should mention before I forget that if you buy a ticket to any one of these separate buildings, then you can get a discount on the tickets for the other buildings, all under the umbrella of the Natural History Museum. We've got another building here. Beautiful. I'm not afraid to admit I have no idea what that building's for. I'd have to check. There is a mineralogy museum. Mineralogy or mineralogy? I never know how to pronounce it. Take your pick. Don't judge me, please. Minerals and rare gems and crystals. And that's that smaller building that we see there. Oh, the sky. So here in this building tucked away there, you've got 600 mineral specimens on display, collected by various explorers through the ages, rocks and gems and giant crystals. Also works of art that used gems and precious stones, objects that were owned by King Louis XIV. So there's all sorts of good stuff in these buildings tucked away, and so many people aren't aware of just how valuable these little buildings are. Not little at all, actually. So, look at these gorgeous tulip beds. And they run along on all sides. Hope I'm not going too fast. What's great too is if, again, it's about the scooch, you can get them all. So you park here with your camera and you wait for an interesting character, a colorful character, to walk by, clickety click, and you go home to see if it was worth it. Oh, look at this. This makes me want to take my time today. So we got the building of paleontology and relative anatomy, comparative anatomy, and then you've got the Mineral Museum and this beautiful Grand Gallery of Evolution. But that's not all, folks. But wait, there's more, because we're headed toward, I want to point out these, what the French call serres. They're large greenhouse spaces that are also exhibits in their own right. We'll get closer to those. Let me show you though. God forbid I step on this grass. I'm not going to make that mistake again. But I'll get as close as my arm can get us. Ah, delicious. Sugary sweet, and I love it. The greenhouses here have exhibits that you can pay to enter. I believe the full rate is €7 to enter this one. And they have different sections in there for tropical plants from humid climates. They have a section for desert and arid climate plants. They have a section that's just the history of plants in general, and a fourth section as well. So all kinds of stuff in there, and there's just a little path and you make your way through it. So you could spend a day here. I mean, we're getting close to the section where there's a straight up zoo, a legit zoo. Maybe we'll throw another glance back to the main building of the History Museum, Natural History Museum. You can see here you are allowed to sit on the grass, which is fairly common in these parks. You just gotta discern which section you're allowed to be on. There is, maybe it's hard to make out, but there is a library tucked away here as well. Of course, all related to botany and various disciplines of nature stuff. Maybe I don't know if the reflection is too bad here, but that gives you a little idea of what you might see. Inside, there's several square feet of that sort of thing. It's all labeled and explained. Ooh, this grass is lush. Wonder if they're intentionally not mowing this or if they just haven't gotten around to it, but that looks comfy. Quite like this entrance. quite grand. Oops, sorry. And then as you enter to buy your ticket, this right here is a nice little gate with some flowers behind. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Curious, isn't it, these pillars? Noticing this is made of, seems almost like a glass that's been intentionally chipped away at. Yeah, that seems to be glass. All the way up. Stunning. You know, there are days where you're feeling good, everything's stunning. You just, you whip that word out for just about anything. I guess we're lucky if we have some of those days in our lives. Maybe one more look back at this full view. So that's called the serre in French. And nice little addition if you come through here and you want to visit the museums. You could easily spend a day. I don't know if I've already said that. This section is, it's like a little botanical garden section that has, well, at least this section here is about alpine, high altitude plants. And it just goes on and on. Maybe I'll show you just a little bit of this. We got time. We're not in a hurry. Yeah, you can see the Jardin alpin. So here you got plants and rocks from those mountainous regions, Europe, North America, the Himalayas, and this was all created in the 1930s. Got this cement structure that's clearly mimicking a little bit of an Asian, Japanese pagoda feel, I guess. And I wanted to get deep enough in here to show you this cute little structure. We like cute little things, don't we? If it's cute and it's little, it makes its way onto my videos. Look at that. Now, I've never checked. I assume it's a storage space for these gardeners. Adorable. If we could just remove this from the image, we could get quite a Wes Anderson type of vibe, couldn't we? Put it right in the center. Yeah, I like it. Can we see what's inside at all? Yeah, it's clearly storage. Nothing too spectacular, but boy, it's cute from the outside. And just in case you can't make it here in the near future, let me at least show you what's in the rest of this section. I assume a lot of this stuff will be growing up and even more flowery in the coming months. Again, the park is just sort of waking up from its hibernation here. Let me show you some other spots because it is not done yet. The Jardin des Plantes still has some secrets to reveal. Again, a quick bit of self-promotion. If you're coming to Paris and you want to take a walking tour, a guided tour, I do that quite a lot these days, and you can find that info to contact me in the description. You can also find other ways and links to help support this channel and this project and the various other Paris projects that I do. This is quite useful. This little structure that I pointed out before is in fact a little passageway if you want to get underneath to the other side towards the zoo. There's actually another, well, let's just go. Why talk about it when you can show it? Show, don't tell, right? That's the old adage. Because I know this leads to another section of similar botanical gardens. So, why guess when we can actually go find out for ourselves? This is a spectacular tree. Is that the word that I've been using too much, or stupendous? Which one was it? Oh, stunning. I think it was stunning. All of those beautiful S words, we use them all today. Look at this. You can see why the artists would be more than happy to come through here. I could imagine Van Gogh doing a great version of a tree like this. Speaking of the painters of Paris, lily pads. Look at this old well. Oh. Stunning, stupendous, spectacular, scintillating, can we add? No, I'm forcing it now, but look at this. Look at all these different hues of green, and then we've got this one solitary, gorgeous, skinny little guy just poking up into that blue sky. These rocks here almost look like they could be volcanic, very porous. I know some of you are wondering, like, hey, can we see down the well? No. Ooh, look at this. This leads me, is this a sequoia tree? Metasequoia? I don't know how in French we would even say that word, but it looks like a sequoia, right? I didn't do my homework on this one. Oh. I'll show you the roots as well that I'm walking on right now. They're spectacular. I really need to find different adjectives to use. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Nothing gets me in the mood for spring, and I've been waiting a long time for it. It seems to have been taking its time in Paris. Those are the roots. Just completely taken over, doing whatever they want. Having their way with the Jardin des Plantes. This is cute. It says access prohibited, but look at, make that out. It's like a little grotto in there. More storage. If you dig long enough, you probably end up in the catacombs, heading into a tunnel like this. All right, I've got more to show you, so perhaps let's pick up the pace a little bit. You get the idea here. We got the piles of what looked to be some kind of volcanic rock. And oh, seems like there's a little bridge. If it's little and it's cute, we go for it, and this little bridge qualifies. A little creek coming through here. A glimpse of the greenhouse there. It's wonderful that these parks are large enough that you can get lost and completely transported. Very easy to forget that you're in Paris. Of course, that's what we love about this city, is that it offers so many different levels and layers and atmospheres. Just when you think you've pinned it down and you know what Paris is, it will absolutely reveal another layer, another facet to you. This is great. We've got different levels. Yeah, look at this little cute little staircase. We gotta take the staircase. So you can let me know in the comments if you've visited this park before, if you've discovered these parts here, if you know them well, if this is a total surprise to you. But for nature lovers, certainly this could be a fun thing to add to your next Paris trip. Look at this. Just lovely little walkways everywhere. I do feel like I'm out on a hike. And I'm just hanging out here in the Latin Quarter, feeling like I'm taking a hike through nature. And I hope you're enjoying the hike right along with me. Beautiful. Very fun. Oh, these people are looking at something. It might be the zoo. Yeah, zoo animals. Check this out. Because we're on the edge of the zoo now. Fun little bonus. While we're talking about the zoo, let me tell you a little bit about it. Watch my footing here. So during the French Revolution, it was decided that in addition to all the animal skeletons that were here and being studied and lectured about, it would be a good idea to get a collection of living animals. And so once again, so much of this product of the good old French Revolution, despite all of the turmoil and the destruction and all of that bloodshed, they managed to get some things right. So some of the first animals transferred to the zoo in the late 1700s were from Versailles, because remember, they deposed the king and guillotined Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, and some of those exotic animals that were just simply always part of the residence of Versailles, they were transferred here. So the king's former animals like a rhinoceros, a lion, a zebra, some exotic birds, and then other animals were added bit by bit, sometimes procured from the spoils of war, from military victories around Europe. It was the zoo of the Jardin des Plantes, as I understand it, that during the Franco-Prussian War in 1870, 1871, things got so bad and there was such a bad famine, the Parisians had no food because they were getting besieged by the Prussians. They emptied out the zoo of all its exotic animals, and the animals were sent to the slaughterhouse because Paris had no choice but to find alternative meats. One of the darker periods, cuisine-wise, you know, we speak in culinary terms, certainly one of the more interesting periods in Paris. This is just so lush. That's a good word for today, lush. Today the zoo has about 1,000 animals, 170 different species of animals, and this is such a great place to bring your kids to run around. And I showed you earlier the little carousel and the several museums and the greenhouse and the zoo. And this kind of just gets better and better, to be honest, because look at this. It just goes on layer after layer into the distance. You gotta really, really admire that. Look at this. Can we just people, can we just... I like the idea of ending the sentence like that with a question mark. Can we just... full stop. My lovely assistants are helping me display how this meandering path will take you further into this lushness. That is, again, meditation. Why am I talking over it? Another little creek, I guess it's the same one, making its way through. And we might as well finish the balade. Okay, seems like we can't go further than this, but that is... Oh, scrumptious is an S word I haven't used yet. Forgive me for not pulling up scrumptious from the depth of my vocabulary. Perhaps that's the problem. There isn't much depth to the vocabulary. No matter how much you talk, sometimes the depth just isn't there. So we've got a little bridge here, and that is fun. Again, you wouldn't say, if I said, guess which major city you're in, you might not think Paris right away. Okay, well, I showed you more of this than I planned to, but I don't regret it. Hopefully you don't either. What I'll do is I'll make a quick cut and continue to show you a little bit more beyond this lovely garden. Hey, real quick on my way out of this section, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that this plaque reminds us that this area that we've been in is the alpine climate section, or at least an extension of it. So I just wanted to point that out. For example, the Pyrenees Mountains, we've got a little plaque there, which, can we assume perhaps that rock comes from the Pyrenees, or maybe these plants? So I just wanted to point that out to be clear that if you're searching for this on a map, it's the alpine climate plants. Okay, so we're back up here to the upper level, and that is the alpine garden that we were just in. And continuing through the park, we've got another great cherry tree. And while we're at it, I don't know if these are, I don't even want to guess what the name of this is. Camellias, maybe? But I love these beauties. And they're almost on their way out this time of year. But what a great bit of, we'll call it bonus bloomage. Let me show you a little bit more. There's a playground, by the way, to the right of me. If you bring kids here, note that towards this area, heading towards the western side of the park, there's a playground. And a concession stand where you can get crepes and sandwiches, it seems, and drinks, so with tables outside. So let's finish up. We have here what I've always thought of as a little bit of a village. And then this is an amphitheater, because remember, this became quite a spot of an address of education to come to the Jardin des Plantes if you were a naturalist or a botanist or an herbalist. And so they have this amphitheater here where they would give lectures, and you could study and talk about anatomy and plants and, you know, all that good stuff that we've been touching upon. And then this is another old building from offices and whatnot. Let me show you a few of these details, and then I'll wrap up the episode and move on to some bonus video of showing some more of the Jardin des Plantes for my Patreon supporters as a thank you for all of their generous support. Another look at the amphitheater. And again, this is one of those parks that's so classic where you think you've seen it all and then you just keep pushing and you see there's just more and more all around. All tucked away here in the Latin Quarter. Yeah, I can see some offices inside there. Probably the folks who are running the show and keeping things going, the museums and whatnot. The entrance is pretty grand. Let me back up a few steps. Look at that, this thing just oozes 19th century. Yeah, it says above the door, Cabinet d'Histoire. And these, we gotta do a close-up of these street lamps, especially with the sun giving us those beautiful shadows. Look at that. Yes, yes, yes. All you can eat. Love it. Can we get cheeky and get both of them in the shot, in the frame? Pardon. And then look, there's even another building. This is one of the entrances slash exits that I'm sure a lot of the office workers use. And maybe one last look at the old amphitheater. And maybe we'll wrap things up here. Thanks everybody. I hope you enjoyed this springtime walk through the Jardin des Plantes in the 5th arrondissement. With the cherry blossoms and all this other goodness, and some lovely blue sky and some sun from time to time. Thank you so much. I hope you appreciated this. If you can't bring yourself to Paris, I'll keep bringing it to you. And perhaps I'll see you in person one of these days for a guided tour of this wonderful city. Patreon supporters, you can immediately go to my Patreon page. I've recorded a private extension of this walk with some more details and flowers and statues and views of this Jardin des Plantes. Thanks everybody, I'm going to wrap it up and I will catch you on the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Au revoir, à bientôt.